This is rampant in our industry. I think we need to get it under control, or we risk really damaging our own health. We really risk damaging the experiences of our families and clients, because the last thing we need is our entire workforce not being able to show up for them. And so I just want to get our workforce back to a place where we can really enjoy the ministry of empathy that is this profession, and just bring a lot of these things out into the open about how demanding our work really is, acknowledging that, how to recognize burnout, and some questions to ask yourself to determine if you're burned out or not, and some other things to help you pinpoint the causes of your burnout.
Welcome to the Direct Cremation podcast with your hosts, Tyler Yamasaki and Will Michaelis.
Hi, and welcome to the Direct Cremation podcast. I'm your host, Will Michaelis, death care consultant and former manager of the Omega Society, large cremation brand that served over 4,500 families a year. You'll notice today I'm by myself. In this video, I'm going to bring you a different type of content than I usually do with Tyler. So today I'm going to be by myself bringing you a video on self-care in the death care profession. My goal is to speak to death care professionals directly, acknowledge the difficulties of the profession, and talk about potential ways to make our way through together. So this is going to be a little bit of a different take than our usual business development or operational or marketing focused content. So let us know what you guys think about it. So what I want to do is I want to talk about our work and get a few things out in the open before we really dive into some of the challenges that we'll be talking about in the podcast. So really what I want to do in this podcast is talk about something I read on the Mayo Clinic's website, which is workplace burnout. And I've noticed this be a theme in our industry for quite some time now. And I thought that the Mayo Clinic actually did a really good job addressing what can cause workplace burnout and ways to cope with it and work through it. So I thought I'd kind of go through what I've learned and read and share with you guys, because I think some of you out there may be able to use some of these techniques to practice self-care in your own work so that you can show up each day the best you can. So I think the first thing to acknowledge is that our work is emotionally demanding. So day in and day out, we are dealing with acute grief responses and trauma and loss. And it's a requirement in our profession that we help others, just like in the healthcare field and a myriad of other fields. We are in a helping profession. And I think in a helping profession and even a non-helping profession, it's essential that we know how to take care of ourselves so that we can be fully available to help others, which is ultimately what our job entails. I hear some people that I respect, including myself, talk about how you can't pour water from an empty cup. And I know that metaphor can sound a little cheesy, but you know it's true. So if you haven't taken care of yourself and your own well-being and your own health, then it's going to be very difficult for you to show up for others, even in your own family, let alone your clients and customers. So what's important in an environment like this is that we find something that works for us to recharge, given the constraints that we have to recharge, which may be, minimal time. So I think we all have those things. And if you don't have enough of them, or if you're not using them lately, this is a reminder to take care of yourself. And what I also want to do is I want to recognize the causes of burnout. We get pushed to the limit in our profession, and a lot of the times we don't have enough even room to breathe. And I think that wears us down over time and leads to, us having bigger problems than we otherwise should. So I've definitely been burned out in this profession. And I know from talking to other business owners and professionals that this feeling is rampant throughout the industry these days, especially given the last 3 years that we've had. So it's very, very common to be feeling a little lost, a little overwhelmed, biting off more than you can chew on a day-to-day basis, and feelings that you're drowning in the work and drowning in others' expectations or others' emotions as well. Because we really get it all and we get pushed to our limit. So when it comes to burnout, it's good to acknowledge that our industry is not immune to this type of feeling. And that I think as professionals, we owe it to ourselves to bring it out in the open and talk about it and feel better about it. Because ultimately we're here to help others and we need to show up for ourselves before we can do so for others. So when it comes to burnout, I think the Mayo Clinic did a good job of discussing the signs of burnout. So I want to go over those with you just so that you can take an audit of yourself and see if you're feeling any of these things within yourself. So one of the first signs that they talk about is emotional exhaustion. So you can't muster up the energy for your own emotions because you're running on an emotional empty. Depersonalization is another one. So we're generally compassionate, empathetic people in this profession. And when you're burnt out, you have or may have a tendency to depersonalize or distance yourself from the intimate situations you're dealing with at work. I'm guilty of this myself. I'm also guilty of emotional exhaustion as well. Next one they talk about is a decreased sense of accomplishment. So when you have a full tank, you can really count the small daily wins that you get, helping a family, making sure something goes smoothly, and, giving your team member a high five when even something small, medium, or large happens at the office or with your client. And I think when you're burnt out, you don't get to relish in these accomplishments as much because you don't really have a lot of energy to give to, celebrating or any other type of emotion for that matter. You're just kind of emptied and may even feel numb a lot of the times. And that's not to diss anyone or treat anyone poorly. It's, to me, in my experience, it was a kind of a defense mechanism so that I could protect my own energy that I felt was depleting and so low already. So don't feel too bad about that. Just recognize that that's normal for human beings to do. And lastly, they talk about low mood. So this is a very general sign of burnout, is just an overall low mood. And I think that kind of weaves into the previous signs that they talked about. But also what I like to be cognizant of and aware of when talking about low mood in our profession is that when you're drinking from the fire hose, so to speak, at the office, you're just have so much on your plate and that can get you down and can affect your mood. Now, generally, if you have a low mood, that is a temporary thing. Generally, hopefully, a short thing for you. It's when you start letting that low mood really affect you for weeks and then turn into months and then turns into, years of low mood, that can really affect your disposition and your overall temperament longer term. And if that's the case for you, then, you really got to reevaluate what you're doing, maybe even who you're working for, things like that. Really take an honest audit of what you're doing with yourself to make sure that, you can get back on track for yourself, because you are important. And I want you to know that so that you can really take care of yourself properly. Next, I want to kind of go through some questions that you can ask yourself as an exercise to see if you're experiencing workplace burnout. So if you answer yes to some of these questions or any of these questions, it's worth thinking about whether or not you fall into this category of burnout, which, hey, in our profession, I know that there's going to be some listeners out there who are. And I think you've probably admitted it to yourself before, and you may have done something about it, or you may have covered it up and swept it under the rug. So here's just another reminder that you're either doing the right thing or you need to do the right thing and take care of yourself. No judgment either way. I just want everyone in our profession to feel good about what they're doing, feel good about themselves and their lives so they can show up to this important work every day on a full tank or as close to it as you can be. So some of the questions that they talk about, and these may seem familiar to you and they may hit home for you. So have you become cynical or overly critical at work? This could be a sign of emotional exhaustion and burnout. Your natural disposition is cynical or negative because you don't have a lot to give. And that can manifest itself in frustration, anger, when really, you could be really just low energy, burned out and sad and upset. So do you drag yourself to work and have trouble getting started? So are you waking up every morning dreading going to the office and what you have to do as your daily tasks? If you find yourself waking up with weight on your chest and on your shoulders and tension in your back, neck, hips, upper extremities, because you're just so tense all the time because you don't like showing up to work, that's something to really audit for yourself. Maybe there's something to be done. Maybe you need a little time off. Maybe you need to find a hobby or rekindle a hobby that really was helping you that you let go of because you wanted to hole up in your home, or you wanted to, kind of just reject everything and push everything away because you feel isolated and you wanted to isolate yourself. We're all human and this stuff happens. So I just want to bring it out into the open, like I said, and make sure that, you have the permission to ask these questions and be honest with yourself and lean on your support system, whether it's your family, your spouse, your siblings, or your coworkers, to have productive conversations about these things. Have you become irritable or impatient with coworkers, customers, or clients? We all get pushed to a limit. And when we get pushed to a limit, we get irritable and impatient. And that can manifest itself in being short with our coworkers or even potentially clients. And we don't want to do that. Everyone is just trying to help families as best they can. And we want to show up for them as best we can. And if you're not in a position mentally or emotionally to do so, then you need to take a break and recharge. Do you lack the energy to be consistently productive? This is a huge one. If you're not recharging yourself on the basis that you need to, you can kind of see your overall level of capacity for patience and empathy start to decrease. And then you're going to find that you don't have as much to give overall. And that is understandable, but you may be beating yourself up for a lack of energy that you once had. And maybe it's really a sign that you need to take some time and recharge. So do you find it hard to concentrate? Do you lack satisfaction from your achievements? Personally, the second one, satisfaction of achievements, I've had that myself when I was really low in the industry. And, no matter what kind of kudos I got from a family or, an implementation of a new process went well, I just looked at it as another box to be checked and just something to move on from. I didn't get overly hyped about, the success of it. And, looking back on those things with a full battery, I can say to myself, wow, I really should have, just relished that moment of success, because that's what life's about. Life's about just relishing the small things in life. And if you're in this industry, you know how important that is, because we don't have an infinite time here on earth. So the time we do have, I think it's important to enjoy it and be happy when things are good, and, also take the good with the bad, because you're alive, and, one day you won't be, and you won't be able to be angry about the things that make you upset. And you also won't be able to enjoy the things that make you happy. So just look at all these things in life as just stepping stones along your journey. Let's see what else we got here. Do you feel disillusioned about your job? Oh, this is a good one. This is something where if you don't have clear communication with your team, if you don't have clear communication with your manager about what they're doing, what you're supposed to be doing, and how you communicate about that, this can lead to a lot of mismanagement in the workplace, but also lead to unnecessary stress for yourself, worrying when you go home, did I do the right thing? Am I actually fulfilling the responsibilities that I'm supposed to have? These can really make you feel spread thin, and unnecessarily so. So I hope that that's few and far between for those of you. Now, if you are one of these people, I encourage you to sign up for one of my hour-long coaching and strategy sessions. If you're feeling disillusioned in your workplace, not knowing what your next move is in the industry, maybe have a low satisfaction of your job and not sure how to transfer out into a different part of the field or a different firm. Maybe you just want to like revamp your resume to make it more punchy because you want to, pivot and go somewhere else. Definitely let me help you with that. I can help you understand your narrative in this industry to change jobs and maximize your earning potential for that next position. So if you're disillusioned about your job, reach out for help. I'm here to help you. This video is here to help you. There's tons of resources online to, make your experience better at the workplace, or, give you the tools to make sure that when you exit that job, you can actually go to a better one. Let's see what else they got here. Are you using food, drugs, or alcohol to feel better or to simply not feel? This is a good one. I think that if you're using drugs or alcohol to kind of numb your feelings rather than working through them, I don't think it's uncommon in the industry. And if you're doing so, I encourage you to seek other types of help, better help, meditation, headspace, even yoga or support groups, your spouse, your family, a therapist. If you can bring these up to your boss, do so in a productive way. This is really important. Have your sleep habits changed? I don't think we talk about this enough. I think we're kind of one of those always on call jobs. So like we're used to, maybe getting sporadic sleep or being woken up in the middle of the night. If this is affecting you on as a common occurrence, I think you need to revamp your operations. It may work for you and you may be different, but over time, if you're not getting the right sleep, it can really affect your eating habits, your exercise habits, your capacity for energy and work for yourself. I think that that's a dangerous road to go down. I've been down it myself, and it's not fun to be on a crappy sleep schedule and not being able to sleep. So if you know, you know. Let's see what else they got on here. Are you having unexplained headaches, stomach or bowel problems, or other physical complaints? I think that stress kills, and I think that it can lead to unnecessary illness and suffering. So if you're experiencing what may seem like random issues in moments of stress, maybe it's stomach, abdominal pain or back pain, or, you have a migraine that comes on as you get stressed or overwhelmed, that's really something to look out for yourself and get help for. So don't ignore these things. Take care of yourself. Our profession is full of some of the best people on earth, some of the most empathetic and kind people. And I'd hate for anything bad to happen health-wise to any of our professionals because they're not taking care of themselves and they're too worried about taking care of others. Okay. So this is really a call to action for our profession to kind of ask themselves these questions. And, we handle families so well. I think maybe this is just a little bit of a call to action to handle yourself if you're not feeling up to par. All right, moving right along. So let's talk about some possible causes of job burnout. And I think I touched on maybe one or two of these as we went through the questions to ask, but let's go over some of these as well. Job burnout can result from a various amount of factors, and some of them include a lack of control. So this may be an inability to influence the decisions that affect your job. Maybe that's your schedule, your assignments, your day-to-day work, or total workload. This could lead to job burnout very easily, especially if you have a lack of resources or a perceived lack of resources to do the work you've been assigned or to do your workload. This can be very, very, very difficult to manage as an employee. And if you're going through this, again, please reach out. I'm happy to talk to you about these types of things and the other things on this list as well. I've gone through a lot of them. I can really try to help you manage them and at least come to a place of acceptance with these types of things, or help you, change your circumstances for the better as well. All right. So another source of burnout in the workplace is unclear job expectations. If you as an employee are unclear about the degree of authority that you have, kind of where you are in the pecking order compared to your supervisor or manager, and you feel that that arrangement and relationship doesn't match what you think it should and the other person thinks it should. So the expectations from you and of your supervisor or manager are not where you think they should be, and you think that the boundaries should be different and the expectations should be more clear, you're not likely to feel comfortable at your workplace. If your manager's expectations of you don't match your expectations of yourself, and your expectations of your manager don't match what your manager or supervisor believes that they are responsible for, you are destined for a mismanagement of expectations and some strife in that relationship. And that I want to acknowledge as something that can really weigh on you at the workplace without you even recognizing it as something that you're carrying around on like every minute of the day, wondering when that person is going to, ask you something that you didn't think you were responsible for, or really over ask of you things that they expect of you when really maybe you expect them to be doing those things, or some arrangement where the expectations aren't being managed properly and your job expectations are unclear. You may be taking on too little responsibility or too much. Too much is often what I see in the death care space, when arrangers or maybe other back office folks or operators, really anyone, is biting off more than they can chew because they just want families to be happy and the team to be happy. But really, there's just a poor boundary setting done between those coworkers. And that's management and ownership job and supervisor's job to really take care of and be clear on. So that's not your fault if you're going through that. So dysfunctional workplace dynamics is the next one. This is tough. I think this is part of a lot of office cultures. I don't think it's unique to death care, but maybe you're dealing with an office bully, or you feel like consistently undermined by your boss or colleagues, or maybe your boss micromanages your work. This can really contribute to job stress at the workplace and emotional stress that you may bring home with you if this is consistent. So definitely something to be aware of. Let's see what else we got. We got extremes of activity. So if your job is monotonous or chaotic, you need a constant level of like tension to remain focused in these types of environment. So, in our profession, in my experience at my company, at the other places that I've talked to and ownership I've talked to, everyone wears a lot of hats. A lot of folks really show up to work and they're like, I have A, B, and C to do today. And then when they get to work, they're confronted with F, G, H, I, and J that are of extreme importance that supersede A, B, and C, and really just throws a wrench in your daily scheduling plans. So if you're one of these people, those types of workplace activities that are maximum importance, but like low impact, and they're constantly hitting your desk, then you're going to be in this tense fight stage throughout your entire workday because you're just waiting for the next fight. You're the hammer and you're just waiting for the next nail to smash. That is going to burn you out. This happened to me, and I didn't understand how that accumulates over time, and it's something to be aware of. Next up, we got lack of social support. So if you feel isolated at work or in your personal life, it might make you more stressed. So this is a call to reach out to me, reach out to someone in your support system to talk to about your burnout and what can be done about it, because you're not alone. This industry and, our world in general is going through a moment of lack of social support. And you being in an energy intensive job, you need some more support than others. So don't be afraid to reach out for it. Okay. And then lastly, they got a work-life imbalance. So if your work takes up so much time and effort of your life and you don't have any energy to spend with your family, friends, or the hobbies that you like to do, you're going to get burned out really quickly, and you're going to start really feeling that isolation and really feeling that imbalance. And you may feel like the walls are closing in on you because you've made your world so small. I want to remind you that your world isn't small, the world is big, and I hope you're okay. I want you to be okay. So again, reach out if you're having these issues. I'd be happy to talk to you. I'd be happy to share my experience with you, what I do to really cope with these things and manage stress. So I think we're going to talk about these in another video, but I really just wanted to kind of talk about self-care in death care. And this is going to be a longer series. And this first video is really to acknowledge that this is rampant in our industry. I think we need to get it under control, or we risk really damaging our own health. We really risk damaging the experiences of our families and clients, because the last thing we need is our entire workforce not being able to show up for them. And so I just want to get our workforce back to a place where we can really enjoy the ministry of empathy that is this profession, and just bring a lot of these things out into the open about how demanding our work really is, acknowledging that, how to recognize burnout, and some questions to ask yourself to determine if you're burned out or not, and some other things to help you pinpoint the causes of your burnout. So in another video, we're going to talk about what burnout can really do to you and how to handle your job burnout as well. So stay tuned for that. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you ever want to know more, please find us at directcremation.com.